health update, life update. I'm officially in perimenopause, and that's what I'm struggling to process. The whole concept of women aging has just been made fun of. Vlogging is so deeply and intensely personal. I second guess everything. I second guess everything I say. They're both tempting for different reasons, but neither of them feels like the right path. Hello and welcome to a new vlog. Welcome if you're new here. Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a full-time university writing instructor and a part-time content creator and indie author. Welcome back if you're one of my lovely returning friends. It is great to have you all here with me today. Welcome to Friday. The Friday at the end of the first week after spring break. So it has felt like an extra long week this week, but it is just about done. I just have one more day of work left and then I can enjoy the weekend. I am ready for that. I really am. Mom is currently on her way, so I just have time for a very quick introduction to this vlog. I don't know exactly what this vlog is going to be. I know I will be titling it something like health update. So we are going to sit down and have a chat about recent doctor's appointments and answers I'm finally getting and how I'm feeling about some of those answers. So that will probably be the next segment. I won't drag that out to the very end of the vlog. But beyond that, I don't know. It's just going to be a cozy work from home day. We'll probably put a bit of a writing, editing update in here as well. Just chat about whatever I feel like chatting about. What is life anymore? I don't know. As we'll talk about, and as you've seen me kind of grappling with in the last several vlogs, I mean, honestly, all of the vlogs so far this year, I feel like. Here's Mom. Hello? Okay, see you soon. Bye. I need to go open up the door for Mom because she will be here momentarily. But yeah, I'm struggling. I'm taking everything day by day and doing the best that I can, but I have definitely been struggling with everything. I've just been struggling with everything. Not, you know, in a horrible, terrible, life is ending kind of a way, although it does sometimes feel that way, and then I've got to talk myself back from that, but just in a I am drowning under a million tiny little things raining down on me kind of a way. This week so far has been very productive. I don't know how that happened. I guess all the resting I did over spring break is paying off. I don't know if I'll be able to maintain this level of productivity. I definitely don't think I'm going to be as productive today, although I do have a lot of things on my list, my task list, but most of those things are small, so I'm hoping I can get through everything on my list and that will make me feel very productive. But yeah, it's going to be just a cozy day at home. It is warming up. I have had the windows open. It's been lovely. The air conditioning has been off for the last like 2 weeks, but it's about to come back on today, and I think this is it, y'all. I think this is it. I think from here on out, I might, if I'm very lucky, I might be able to turn it off tonight. Definitely looking at the 10-day forecast. We're back to air conditioning weather. It's still not going to be unreasonably hot. It's still not going to be that bad, but hot enough I have to have the air conditioning. So you will be hearing that in the background of the sound later on. So apologies in advance, but yeah, it's that time. I really can't complain at this point in the year. It is that time where the windows do get closed and the air conditioning comes back on. Not quite time to put the blackout curtains up, so I'm enjoying as much natural daylight still in the apartment as I can, but soon that's going to happen as well. But yeah, anyway, Mom is gonna walk through that door any minute. So yeah, welcome to the vlog. I will take you all with us to go grocery shopping. Gonna try to find some flowers for the apartment, and as well as, you know, food, the important things. And then we'll come back, we'll sit down, we'll have a good long catch-up chat, health update, all the stuff that's been happening, all the stuff I've kind of been sitting on for the last couple of weeks and just needing to process. Then once that's done, we'll just get on with the rest of the day and get on with the rest of my life, because I feel like that's kind of the point that we have reached, which I'll explain more in a little bit. But for now, let's get going to the grocery store and see what kind of spring goodies we can find to brighten up the apartment and cheer myself up at the end of a very long and very exhausting week. And I'm home and I am ready to just, I was gonna say relax. I have work to do. I can't relax too much, but I'm ready to go get settled at the desk and get to work. But before I do that, I wanted to just sit down and have a bit of a chat. I've got what's left of my iced latte. I've put it in my new London mug that you will have seen a few vlogs ago. Health update. Health update, life update, everything. I don't even know where to start on this. Everything's fine. I'm okay. Everything's okay. Just putting that out there. But I still feel like it is a lot to process, and I've been processing everything for a couple of weeks now. Still not, like, I'm still processing, but I feel like I can talk about it, kind of. I don't know why, but I am still very nervous to talk about this, and I shouldn't be, because nothing is wrong and we need to not stigmatize, and like this topic should not be as taboo as it still kind of feels. Like, I just feel awkward. Can I talk about this on the internet? We've been talking about it. What is the it? Perimenopause. We've been talking about this. I've suspected, you all have suspected, that this might be what I am dealing with, and I have been going through the process of finding a new primary care doctor, and then through that finding a women's health specialist. So I'm gonna kind of recap the beginning. Well, first I'm just gonna say it's been confirmed. I am in perimenopause. How did I get there? What does that mean? I don't really know what that means. Like, I do, but I don't. But like, I know what it means, but I'm still processing like what it means in my life. So we'll get to that in a minute, but let's backtrack just a little bit, remind ourselves, remind myself, remind all of you, catch up anyone who's new here. This video could be attracting some new people, so some of you watching, this might be the first video of mine you've ever watched. Please stick around and maybe watch some of my other videos. That would be amazing, please and thank you. So yeah, just a quick recap, kind of the road so far. The road so far goes back quite a ways, probably to late 2021, when things first started kind of going a bit wonky. Basically, around the age of 40, literally late 2021, so like 9 months, 8 months into being 40, was when I started noticing a lot of random things just all getting worse, all kind of at the same time-ish. And when I say the same time, I mean kind of in these last few years, but for each of them to start getting worse one after another over the last few years, that still kind of feels, in terms of the big picture of things, it still feels like at the same time. So that's what I mean by that. So I was diagnosed with a type of tachycardia, so an electrical rhythm issue in my heart. I noticed that my fibromyalgia was just kind of starting to get worse. My ADHD over the last couple years has started to get worse. I think that's kind of what prompted me to go get that diagnosis. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 41, but I just started to notice symptoms even more than I had. I'd had these symptoms since I was a kid, or these, I hate calling it symptoms because I don't think ADHD is something actually wrong with my brain. It's just my brain is different. I don't like that we consider it a disorder because I don't think my brain is disordered. I just think my brain is different. It was kind of in my 40s that I started noticing that that things I'd been struggling with my whole life, I was struggling with even more. My IBS started getting worse as well. That kind of picked up. It had been getting worse off and on starting around 2021. I felt like I was getting it under control and like figuring out what was causing certain spikes in symptoms of my IBS, but then none of that continued to work, and it just was starting to get worse consistently and frequently. So last year, as some of you saw, I went through the process of finding a GI specialist to investigate those symptoms and to make sure it was just IBS. We did a colonoscopy, an endoscopy, a CT enterography. We did 3 different hydrogen breath tests to test me for SIBO, fructose intolerance, and lactose intolerance. Everything came back negative. Everything came back that nothing serious was wrong, which great. That means IBS. Not as great, because for some reason my IBS was still getting worse and we really didn't figure out why. So the final thing kind of on my list, because we were going through everything, my thyroid is fine. I have tested my thyroid. I've had hypothyroidism, slow thyroid in the past. I have been diagnosed with that. I am on medication for that, but the medication is working and my thyroid is actually in a really good place right now. So that's not causing the problems. Someone else had mentioned recently in the comments that possibly I could have ME/CFS instead of fibromyalgia. I have wondered that since my fibromyalgia diagnosis. The doctor who diagnosed me with fibromyalgia really kind of shrugged off ME, and it sometimes feels like that's a lot less common of a diagnosis here in the US. I feel like ME/CFS is a little bit more common in other countries, particularly the UK. So like most of the people I know who have received an ME/CFS diagnosis are in the UK, not here in the US. If you're US and you've been diagnosed with ME/CFS, let me know. I'd love to know what your experience was like. It is possible. I just don't know that chasing that diagnosis is worth the time and energy, because ultimately fibromyalgia and ME/CFS are very similar. I've always felt they're on different ends of the same spectrum, essentially. One, the primary symptom is pain, the other primary symptom is fatigue, but both deal with chronic pain and chronic fatigue. So the treatment of them somewhat similar, and people can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but yeah, I have thought of that as well, ME/CFS, but with everything else, because the main symptom, the main thing that I have been struggling with starting kind of late last year, starting like September, well, starting kind of last summer, but then getting worse in the lead up to kind of the holidays, and then it's been really bad the beginning of this year, has been the anxiety and depression, the mental health side of things, particularly the anxiety, but also irritability, anger, emotional dysregulation, just struggling to regulate my emotions. My reactions to things are way stronger than they should be, way stronger than they've been in the past. And I really hate that about women's health things like PMS, PMDD, perimenopause, menopause. I feel like when we talk about these things, it really feeds into the narrative of women as being too emotional and women as being unstable, and bullshit. Bull freaking shit. I hope I don't get demonetized for saying that word, but it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. I am still living my life and doing my job and being really professional and getting stuff done, but privately at home, I'm losing my mind. And it had gotten to a point where my brain was going to really dark and scary places, and I don't want to be too specific because I don't want to trigger anyone, but I think you can connect the dots. It's something I have dealt with before, and it was connected to hormones that time. And that was what started making me think that everything I'm dealing with, the IBS, the fatigue, the mood swings, the difficulty concentrating, all of those things could ultimately be related to my hormones. And people in my personal life, offline, away from YouTube, started floating the idea of perimenopause, and many of you were bringing that up in the comments and saying that the symptoms that I've been describing in some of these vlogs over the last several months were things that you noticed at the time that you were diagnosed as being in perimenopause or confirmed as being in perimenopause. I don't like using the words diagnosed or symptoms because, again, this is just something that happens to our bodies. So then I brought it up with my old doctor. Some of you remember when this happened. I brought it up with my old doctor and was told it couldn't possibly be perimenopause. I'm 44. I was 43 at the time of that appointment, but almost 44. From what I've been told and what I've read, it can start as young as 35. I think 50 is the average age, but 44 is possible. So I kind of knew it was possible that it wasn't that, but it is possible that it is that. And there were already things I was not liking about that doctor and about that office, and I was already wanting to find a new doctor, so that was just kind of the final straw. So at the beginning of this year, finally found a new doctor, made those appointments, went and saw my new primary care. She wasn't sure if it was that, but that's not her specialty. She recognized that as a primary care doctor, so she referred me to a women's health specialist. She referred me to a gynecologist who specifically focuses on menopause care. That was a positive sign when I got that referral. Had to wait for that appointment. And then 2 weeks ago as of yesterday, I had that appointment. And oh my gosh. First of all, she's the nicest doctor I think I've had in ages. I mean, I do like my new primary care. My new primary care doctor has a very strong personality, and I think that sometimes sets me on guard a little bit, but like my follow-up with her went even better than my first appointment, and so like I feel like I've got a good primary care doctor now. But for a first appointment, like a new patient appointment, this specialist, she is just, it's the most comfortable and at ease I have had since the GI specialist that I saw. And some of you probably remember my reaction to meeting my GI specialist and how relieved I was because my GI specialist is amazing. So it really makes a difference when you find a good doctor. I have health anxiety and medical doctor anxiety. I don't like being a new patient. I don't like finding a new doctor. I will stay with a doctor I'm less than happy with for longer than I should, because finding a new doctor, it's the devil you know is better than the devil you don't kind of a thing. It's that worry of, will someone new be even worse than the current situation? So it takes a lot for me to switch. But in this case, I'm so glad I did, because I feel like I've got a good new primary care doctor who I can really talk to and ask questions, and I'm not afraid to advocate for myself with her. And this specialist, this gynecologist, is just, she's amazing. She is absolutely amazing. I really hope I can stay with her for the long term. Like, I really hope nothing changes with my insurance next year. But at least for now, and in terms of getting this confirmation, I'm just so grateful. So the appointment went well. It started off, you know, asking all the questions. What are my current symptoms? What is making me think that I could be in perimenopause? I went through everything. I explained that there are certain things, like the big signs they look for, like your cycle regularity and things like hot flashes and stuff, I don't have. I'm not dealing with those things yet. But a lot of the less less, I don't want to say less common, because I feel like the mood issues, the tachycardia, heart palpitations can be a sign of perimenopause. The GI symptoms I'm experiencing, all of those are signs of perimenopause. They're just lesser known signs. So I was explaining I have a lot of those, and it's just weird. I don't think it's a coincidence that the GI stuff, the ADHD stuff, the fibromyalgia stuff are all getting worse all roughly at the same time, and that this has all been since coming off a hormonal contraceptive pill, which I came off that in late 2021. So that was kind of the marker, and it's possible that that pill was keeping a lot of these things regulated, but it was also causing high blood pressure, so that's why I came off of it. But coming off of it now has taken that band-aid off to a certain extent, and everything is now kind of doing what it would naturally be doing and is becoming more apparent. So I made it very clear that I wasn't coming in with any specific goal in mind. A lot of people have brought up HRT. When the time is right for me, I am more than happy to discuss that with my doctor, and if it is right, then I will give that a try. And so I wanted to make it very clear, I'm not coming in here demanding anything. I just want to know I'm not crazy, because that's how I've been feeling. Nothing feels normal, nothing feels right, everything feels so out of my control, and so it's exhausting to try to keep things under control and to remain functional and able to do my job and live my life. So that's kind of what I was explaining to her. And she started explaining how hormones work and how they change as we get older. And there was something about what she was saying. She was like, we'd have to test your blood like every hour on the hour, every day for 30 days to see what is really going on with your hormones. And I'm not going to do that to you. And I'm like, great, this is the setup to the letdown of, you know, everything's probably fine. It's too soon to tell. So come back in a year. And that was my fear for this whole appointment, that it was just going to get kind of dismissed as being too soon. I'm still too young, but you know, let's revisit it in a year and see how things go. So I braced myself for that. But then the next thing she said was, I do want to still test your hormones, but regardless of what they say, based on all your other symptoms and everything else you're dealing with, we can say that you are in perimenopause. So I got that confirmation. And then she followed it up in her message. So I did do a blood test right now. As of when that test was done, everything was within normal range. But when she messaged me to give me those results, she said, I still think clinically you are in perimenopause. So basically it's her clinical opinion that that is where I'm at, but I am not yet a candidate for HRT. And so we really just have to now see if we can manage the individual symptoms and things that I'm dealing with, like the mental health stuff, like the anxiety and depression and things like that. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm officially in perimenopause, and that's what I'm struggling to process. Like, what does that mean? And how do I move forward? It has made a huge difference just knowing this is where we're at. So yeah, that's the road so far, and that's where we are at this point. Where I am going moving forward, I'm still processing and still thinking, but I do have some thoughts on that, but I've been talking for 21 minutes already. So I'm going to break this up just a little bit. I'm going to go finish drinking my coffee because it's hard to drink while I'm talking, and I do need to get to work. So I'm going to go do some work for a little bit, and then I will take a break and we can chat a little bit more about just what does this all mean going forward, and how am I feeling, and how am I thinking about starting to manage things going forward. It is now later in the afternoon. It's nearly 3 o'clock. I'm making lots of progress. There are a lot of things checked off my task list, but there's still some big things that I'm working on. I've been doing a lot of grading, but I haven't done as much grading as I want. Like I've still got more grading to do, basically. It's going well. Today is going well. So continuing on with what I was talking about earlier, which like now I've been so focused on other things. It's like, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, that perimenopause. It's a weird thing. I think because there's so much, I don't know if stigma is quite the right word, but there's so many stereotypes and preconceptions and misconceptions, and I feel like it's the whole topic of menopause and the whole concept of women aging has just been made fun of so much in the media for so many years. And like, I just feel like my whole childhood, it just, the older woman was often the butt of so many jokes, and aging just looked like, aging and getting older just looked like the worst thing ever, and it just felt like kind of the end of your life. And obviously I've watched a lot of the women in my life get older and go through different stages of their life, and I've seen how you can reinvent your life, how you as you get older, you often have more freedom and more flexibility to do the things you want to do and chase your dreams and pursue your passions. My own mother, in her retirement, is now spending so much of her time writing her novel that she would like to publish one day. So in my own life, I've seen that like getting older is just something that happens, but it's not necessarily a negative thing. But in the media, it's still portrayed kind of in a very negative way, and that I feel like perimenopause is a sign that you're not young anymore. I'm not old. I refuse to think of myself as old, but I'm not young anymore. And this feels like kind of the ultimate definitive sign that I'm not in my 20s or 30s anymore. And I think part of my problem is I still feel like I'm not in my 20s, but I still identify so much with the version of me that I was in my 30s. Like, it's hard for me to believe that I'm already 4 years into my 40s and that my mid 30s were 10 years ago. Like 33, 34, 35 feels like just a few years ago to me. And the pandemic has definitely impacted that. Like, it's hard to believe that we're now 5 years post the onset of the pandemic, and that just still feels so recent and so fresh in my mind. So I feel like I'd be really curious to know if any of you are watching, went through your 30s and 40s before the pandemic. Like, did that jump from 34 to 44 or from 35 to 45? Did that jump feel as fast as it has felt for me? Like, of the time from like 34 to 44, half of that time has been the pandemic, has been since 2020. And so that 10 years has felt like only 3 or 4 years. But would it have felt that fast if not for the pandemic? I don't know, and I'll never know, because that's just how it was for me. But how quickly it has flown, I think, is a huge part of why I'm struggling. So having that doctor's appointment and getting that confirmation, on the one hand, it was a huge relief to just know, okay, this is a licensed medical, expert. This is someone who has spent years in medical school and lots of training and residency and all of this stuff. Like, this is a person who knows what they're talking about. And they are telling me, based on all the things that I just kind of word vomited out in that appointment, that I am in perimenopause. So if she says so, it must be true. And that's a huge relief to just know that, like, I'm not losing my mind. I'm not imagining all of these things. My body and my brain are going through some sort of change, even though I'm at the very beginning stage or phase of all of these changes. But like, there is a medical and physiological reason for why my brain in particular, in terms of the mood issues, the emotional regulation, in terms of the difficulty concentrating, in terms of the memory issues and forgetfulness, that I already struggle with between fibromyalgia and like brain fog with fibromyalgia, but also brain fog from burnout and stuff. It's gotten worse. And I have been doing so much over the last few years to accommodate fibrofog, to accommodate and like recover from burnout. And I have been really easing my foot up off the gas in a lot of ways. It might not seem like it sometimes to you all, but like I'm no longer chasing that like toxic productivity mindset. It's no longer about getting as many things done in a day as possible or setting these really kind of impossibly ambitious goals for myself. I've gotten a lot better about recognizing what my limits are and pushing myself to that limit, because I do like to push myself a bit, but not pushing myself so much that it's unrealistic or that it's impossible and I'm setting myself up for failure, essentially. And so I have been working on the burnout, and I have been doing a lot of things to recover from the burnout. What I'm trying to say is there are other external things that can cause some of these symptoms and that probably are impacting how I'm feeling, but my gut instinct this whole time has been underneath all of those. There's also been something else adding a further layer of complication to how I'm feeling. And there has been, and it's called perimenopause. And so I think the reason I'm still struggling, like, it's been 2 weeks and I've been having these suspicions for months now, and so many of you have kind of chimed in and kind of validated me in the comments as well with sharing your experiences, and it all kind of lines up. But I think one of the reasons why I struggle to talk about this and why I'm so nervous to talk about this online, especially if I put the label of perimenopause somewhere in the title or on the thumbnail, which I probably will do, because I want other people who are struggling with this to be able to hear my experience and see if that lines up with their experience. Like, it's why I did the colonoscopy video. It's why I've done fibromyalgia videos, because I think sharing our experiences can help to normalize these sorts of discussions, and also can show a range of how these sorts of things show up, or what signs you might be on the lookout for. And obviously, and I should put this disclaimer at the beginning of this conversation in the previous segment, obviously if you are suspecting any of these sorts of things in your own life, that you might be perimenopausal, or that you might have fibromyalgia, or you might have IBS or ADHD or any of these things, don't just listen to random strangers on the internet. Go speak to a licensed professional. I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is just sharing my experience. I always get really nervous talking about these sorts of topics on my YouTube videos, because on the one hand, I really want to share my experience, because I know from the comments of all of my previous videos, on like the colonoscopy video or on any of my fibromyalgia videos, I get so many comments from people who are grateful to have heard my experience, who feel validated, who feel seen, who will say that they feel so much less alone to know that someone else is going through something similar. And so that is the reason why I do these. But the flip side of that is I get a lot of criticism sometimes. I get a lot of health trolls. I guarantee you And I will probably delete a good portion of them because some of them just are so rude in the way that they approach it. But I guarantee you I will get comments telling me I just need to do a certain type of exercise, like do yoga. That's everyone's favorite. That is every health troll's favorite. Just do yoga. I do yoga, and that might surprise some people, but I do yoga and I enjoy yoga. It's not my most favorite thing, but yes, I do yoga. I hike, as many of you who watch my vlogs see. I hike probably 5 to 6 days a week. I am doing some sort of high intensity physical activity 6 days a week. I work out enough. I also will get comments about I need to cut out gluten, cut out dairy, cut out this, that, and the other. I need to go vegan or vegetarian, or I love the comments where I need to take some really random obscure supplement. Trust me, I know what supplement options are out there, and I have researched many of them, and I have chosen the ones that I have noticed do help me. So I do take some supplements, and some of them help and some of them haven't, and I don't take those ones anymore. I will get recommendations for some random, every time I do anything medical related, like any of these sorts of videos, there will always be someone who comments to go follow so-and-so random doctor here on YouTube who's discovered the cure for whatever my video is about. The cure for ADHD, the cure for fibromyalgia, the cure for IBS. So like I always get nervous because there will always be a certain amount of criticism labeled as advice, and that's how it always feels. It's worded as advice, but it is very thinly veiled criticism, as if somehow the things that I am struggling with are my fault. So I get really self-conscious making these sorts of videos because I don't need any more criticism. I am already criticizing myself enough, more than enough, and I don't need other people coming into my space here on YouTube to reinforce the feeling that all of this is somehow my fault and I don't have insert condition. I don't have ADHD, fibromyalgia, IBS, perimenopause, whatever. I'm just broken because I already feel broken, and it's already hard enough for me to counteract that story in my head, that narrative in my head, without strangers on the internet popping into my comment section to reinforce it. There have probably been a lot of really awkward jump cuts in this edit because there's bits that I'll say and then I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should say that, and so then I cut that out. And I struggle with how to talk about this and how to articulate this in a calm and coherent and concise manner. Like I also already get enough comments telling me I talk too much and I need to talk less and these videos need to be shorter, but I don't know how to do that, especially when my brain is moving at 5 million miles a minute and I'm stumbling over my words and I'm forgetting what I'm saying mid-sentence, sometimes even mid-word. It's like the rest of the word flies out of my brain and I don't know what I'm trying to say. And like already, like I've gone off on this tangent about why I get nervous that I've like lost like what I was meant to be talking about in this in this topic. I don't know who I am half the time. Like I'm not the person I was. Like she's still in there somewhere, but she's changing and I don't yet know who I'm changing into, and I'm really trying to put a positive spin on it, and I'm really trying to see it and approach it as, you know, the whole caterpillar turning into the butterfly kind of a thing. But it's really hard, and it's hard doing that on the internet. There's part of me that really wants to just run away and hide and take like 5 years off of YouTube. And there's part of me that doesn't want to be going through all of this and vlog my life at the same time. And it's definitely it's making it really difficult to vlog and to keep making these videos, and it's impacting my mood and my mindset when it comes to content creation and things like that. Like writing my books, that's an escape. It gets me out of my own head, but vlogging is so deeply and intensely personal and reflective, and it's so raw and vulnerable. Vulnerability and authenticity is really good for YouTube, but it's not always good for the mental health of the creator. And it's a balance I'm really struggling to maintain. Being vulnerable and being open and sharing the things that I'm going through without feeling like I'm using my own struggle for views. And I feel like this is a whole other part of the conversation. So I'm gonna put a pin in that, write it down on my sticky note, and we can talk a little bit more about that after I do a bit more grading, because I can feel my brain. I'm running low on grading ability. So I want to try to make one more big push for the day and for the week on grading, and then try to wrap up some of this work for the week. And then we can chat more once I'm done with teaching work for the day. Okay, it's 5 o'clock, or at least it's close enough. It's 4:58. I am caught up on grading. Miracle of miracles. There's still some final drafts that are missing, so I'm hoping those will appear in Canvas over the weekend. But yeah, grading is done for the week, and I'm very relieved. By some miracle, I did manage to get all of the grading done that I had wanted to get done. So yay. So flipping back to this week on my planner, I've had a pretty productive week, and I can cross off plan next week. Done that, and with that planning session, I am now pretty much done for the day and done for the week, and I am so ready to be done. So just going back to what I was talking about earlier, first I think I meant to mention this in the last one, but like, since that doctor's appointment and since having it confirmed, like, how am I feeling? I talked about how I'm still struggling to process like the deeper, more philosophical and existential things related to perimenopause. But in terms of like practically and physically how I've been feeling since, I have noticed that some of the anxiety has lessened. I think like medical stuff is a huge trigger for me, for some of the reasons why I was starting to get into in the last segment. Just it just makes everything harder. So when I'm not feeling well, it feels like it throws everything off, and I struggle a lot more, and that can kick up a lot of anxiety and a lot of uncertainty in what is happening. Is there something more serious that's wrong? You know, what if I think that all of these symptoms are signs of perimenopause, but what if there's actually something a lot more serious going wrong? So the what ifs and the uncertainty, whenever I feel like there's something wrong with me health-wise, just makes my anxiety kick up to an extra level. So getting that confirmation and hearing that how I'm feeling is normal, that it is perimenopause, and knowing that between all these doctors, we've done a bunch of tests, I know that it's not something more serious, but then having the confirmation that it is actually something, it's not all in my head and I'm not making it up, that confirmation has reduced some of that anxiety. There's still a lot of other anxiety, but that anxiety has kind of been resolved. I now have a bit more certainty of what's going on. So I am feeling a little bit better, but it has also become apparent, like, that appointment was the Thursday before spring break. So I then had a whole week off. And I noticed that a lot of the things that I've been dealing with, the anxiety, the depression, the intrusive thoughts, the difficulty concentrating, like even when I was on break and letting myself have it completely off, I wasn't working on book stuff, I was barely doing that much vlogging or vlog editing, I really did give myself a full week off practically, I was still struggling. So it's not just the workload and all the tasks and things like that. It's like even when I am pretty much on vacation, my brain is still, my anxiety is still on overload. Anxiety is something that I have struggled with before, but this was honestly one of the first things. Like I remember lying awake at night in bed one night and just thinking like all these anxious thoughts running through my head and just having this kind of rational, like intellectual thought of, this isn't normal. Like I struggle with anxiety, but this is beyond what I normally deal with. And this is really weird. And I just had the thought, like, can perimenopause increase your anxiety? Like, can it cause anxiety? And I Googled it, like literally lying in the dark, Googling this on my phone. And yeah, sure enough, it can for a variety of reasons. But like, it just felt like my anxiety was, like I was being anxious over things that I normally am really good at, like telling myself this is not something you need to be anxious about. Like of all the things in the world to be anxious about, this is not something to be anxious about. But those were the types of thoughts I was having, stuff that just, it felt like irrational anxiety. I mean, most anxiety is irrational, but hopefully you get what I mean. I would get anxiety over these like what ifs, and they would just be so like, I guess it could happen, but like it's possible but highly improbable. And these would be the things that I would get anxious over, as if my brain doesn't have enough legitimate things to cause anxiety. So it was this really weird level of anxiety. And so there is still that. I feel like the health anxiety has come down, but there's still all this other anxiety that I'm struggling with. And so then that kind of goes into what I was starting to talk about at the end of the last segment, and the thing that I'm dealing with now and kind of trying to figure out is the anxiety, the depression, the mental health, you know, just general mental health is making it hard to vlog. Historically, like it's been 9 years almost that I've been doing YouTube. In fact, by the time you're watching this, my 9 years like coming up on Monday, I think. And so in the 9 years I've been doing YouTube, the times where I have struggled with vlogging the most have been the times when my anxiety has been the highest. So in those last few months of my PhD, in those early months of the pandemic when we didn't really know what was going on, there are times in the past where I have been really struggling off camera, and then that always leads to a struggle with vlogging and being on camera. And so that's where I'm kind of at right now. And I second guess everything. I second guess everything I say. Should I say this? Should I not say this? Is this a good topic for a vlog or a video? Is this not? If a video doesn't perform as well as I hoped, I will come up with all kinds of reasons why I think it has failed in terms of analytics that are more personal to me, rather than it could be factors not really related to me. It could be factors related to time of the upload or the algorithm or something like that. Something I did with the metadata. Maybe the title wasn't descriptive enough or the thumbnail wasn't engaging enough, but I will think that it's because there's something wrong with my personality and the way I'm coming across on screen. So it's hard to show up authentically as myself when even I'm not really liking who I am right now. And that's really hard to say, because I'm trying to also be very compassionate towards myself. I'm doing the best I can, and I know I'm doing the best that I can, and it's hard that all of this is also happening at a time when I've decided to put my coaching business on pause and try to make YouTube and my writing a legitimate part-time job. And so I've always done YouTube just for the fun of it, and I've never allowed the AdSense revenue or the view counts or things like that to be something that I get really hung up on. But if it is going to be a part-time job, I do kind of have to pay a little bit of attention to those things, and I'm struggling to strike that balance between how much do I really try to analyze the analytics and let that determine the type of content I make, versus how much can I just kind of let go and just make whatever content I feel like. It's difficult when looking at the last, I'd say 4 or 5 months, the videos that have performed the best have been the ones where I'm really struggling on camera, where I'm very raw, I'm very vulnerable, I'm talking about all of these sorts of things. Like, it will not surprise me if this video does really, really well. It also won't surprise me based on how the last several videos have been going if this underperforms. So I will second guess and overanalyze either option. This video could perform really, really well, in which case it will confirm this feeling that videos where I'm visibly struggling always perform, and then I start to feel a bit of like an ick that I'm using myself and my own struggles for clicks and views. I hate that feeling. I really hate that feeling. But then on the flip side of that, there's that thought of, but this video could also completely bomb, and then it's just one more video that isn't performing as well and is proof that I can't make this a part-time job kind of a thing. And so I'm in this real kind of damned if I do, damned if I don't. No matter what I do, I just feel like it's not a positive outcome. And so ultimately, I feel like what I'm trying to arrive at is that I need to just make the content I want to make and not pay attention to the views, and maybe just not think about this as a part-time job, but just think that for this year, I'm just kind of not worrying about earning additional money. I'll make do with the salary I get from my full-time job and any little bit I make from YouTube and publishing. And then next year, when hopefully I've gotten a better handle on how I'm doing and how I'm feeling, then I can start making perhaps some more responsible and tougher decisions. A huge part of what I'm struggling with is this feeling of like, I honestly wish I could just go hide away for 6 months. Like, there's a huge part of my brain that just wants to, I don't want to stop writing, because I love writing, but that wants to just stop editing, stop publishing, stop trying to like focus on putting out the next book, just go into like a full-on creative mode where I'm only writing and I'm only writing for fun. And also stop doing YouTube, stop posting videos, just truly take 6 months off and see if that resets something in my brain. But I don't want to do that. I really, really don't. And I hate that I'm feeling this way as I'm about to hit my 9th birthday for this channel. I really would like to at least get a full decade of doing YouTube the way I've been before I consider making kind of a drastic change of upload schedule or the type of content or something like that. I just have this gut instinct, like since hitting 5K, that I'm right on the verge of something, like something could really shift here, that I'm like so close to figuring out like that, not that magic formula, but just that right approach or that right mindset with YouTube. And I'm so close to having something really positive kind of grow and change, that all the work of the last 9 years is on the verge of becoming what I've always dreamed of. It's this gut feeling that I'm like so close. And so every time I think about just putting it on pause and taking a massive break, it just, like, that feels really wrong. And so I just feel like I'm getting a little bit stuck in this like crossroads space of, I've got the option of continuing how I'm going, or I've got the option of just stepping away and taking a massive step back and a massive break. And neither of those roads feels right. They're both tempting for different reasons, but neither of them feels like the right path. I think continuing feels slightly more right than not, than taking a break and taking a big step back. So I am continuing, but I'm still really struggling with like how do I document kind of this next year or so as I'm coming to terms with a lot of things, as I'm kind of going from 44 heading towards 45, and there's a lot of mental shifts that I feel like are happening. There's a lot of identity shifts that I feel like are happening. I've talked about viewing it as an identity shift and not as an identity crisis, but I really waffle back and forth between the two. Half the time it feels like an identity crisis, and I feel like everything is just, I don't know, it feels very high pressure, and it feels very anxiety inducing, and it feels very much like a crisis. But I know that that's a huge part of that is like just mental mindset and perspective and not reality. I'm really having to remind myself that my thoughts are not my identity. My thoughts are not my reality. I wrote this down. I've got a number of reminders in my journal here, like things that when I have a thought that I'm like, ooh, this is really good, I need to remember this. I am not my feelings or thoughts. I can feel them or think them and let them pass, but I do not have to identify with them. But that is a constant ongoing battle and reminder that I have to remind myself of that on an almost daily basis, because sometimes the thoughts and the feelings are so overwhelming that I just don't know what to do. That's roughly where we're at. I feel like this vlog has had no answers and no, I mean, it has. It's perimenopause. That's the answer. But I feel like there's nothing I can, there's no words of comfort I can offer to anyone who's struggling with the same thing or is at a same stage, because as far as like what to do going forward, I'm still figuring it out. And I will be talking about that in the vlogs, but I also really want to focus on going out and living my life and having fun and spending time with my family and friends and going shopping and going to coffee shops and going hiking and doing stuff and doing and showing all of that and vlogging all of that, even though those vlogs just do not get the same views. Anyway, I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna go rest and relax for a little bit, try to calm the little anxious hamster that's running on the hamster wheel in my brain. I'm gonna stop being awkward. I'm gonna stop second guessing this whole segment, and I'm just gonna go relax and start enjoying my weekend. Alrighty, it is the end of the evening. I'm gonna watch one more YouTube video and then go to sleep. I have managed to turn the air conditioning off and open up the windows. I don't think it's going to cool down overnight, but it should stay at this temperature, so that is the hope. It has been such a lovely evening. Feeling so happy with how much work I have managed to get done. It has been a much more productive week than I think I was anticipating. It does feel like, and this is the first full week since my doctor's appointment and everything, that I've had that knowledge and like been aware that like, okay, this is my reality, that I've also been working. And so that first week that I was processing all of this was on break. And so I had nothing but time to think about it. This week I've kind of gotten back to work, and I'm definitely still struggling with distraction and focus and all of that, but I do think it's been a little bit better this week, so I'm hoping that's also part of the slight reduction in anxiety over all of this. And obviously, like, I don't know, I'm not gonna like overthink this, like, but I know it's not a situation to be super anxious about. It's not like I have a horrible disease or something. I'm okay. I'm gonna be fine. It's just life. It literally is just life. And what a privilege that this is my life. I'm fine. My brain just keeps wanting to convince me that I'm not fine. So I'm gonna try not to make all of the vlogs be about this going forward. I just want to get on with living my life, taking each day as it comes, and when things start to feel really overwhelming, just to be able to remind myself that, like, now I kind of know why I will feel that way, and that it's normal and it's natural and there's nothing actually wrong with me, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to turn, just like I never really turned into a fibromyalgia channel or an IBS channel or an ADHD channel or anything like that. I'm not turning into a perimenopause channel or a mental health channel. It's me living my life and writing my books and teaching my classes and all of that sort of thing. So if you are new to this channel because of this video, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you'll consider subscribing, even though what I've been talking about is not what I always talk about. If you've liked other elements of this video, I think you'll like my content in general, and I would love to have you hang around. So if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed, all of that great stuff. I'd really appreciate it. Leave me some flower emojis, because I've got my new flower desk mat, so you can leave me some flower emojis in the comments to let me know which one of you lovely people have made it all the way to the end of this vlog. And in the comments, I don't know, just say hi, let me know how you're doing, let me know what's new or what's up with you in your life. Feel free to respond to anything I've been talking about in this vlog. And yeah, I've got a flashing battery light, so I'm going to try to shut up and end this vlog and before it cuts me off, and I will see you all very soon in the next vlog. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye!